Hi, I'm Deborah Atkinson, and this is the Flipping 50 Show, the place to reset, tune up, and prepare for your second and better half with the vitality and the energy that you want. In every episode, I answer questions from women just like you about what they're struggling with most. I prepare the things to eat, show you when to eat them, tell you how to move, and solve your biggest time challenges so you can focus on one or two key things that'll give you the most results in the least amount of time. Send me your question to flipping50tv.com. And if I choose your question for the show, you get immediate exclusive access to a few goodies I'll tell you more about later, so stick around. Even if I don't choose your question for the show, you'll get my Muscles in Minutes guide for toning those hard to tone areas easily. Today's episode is all about back pain and how to prevent it or reduce it if you've got chronic pain. It's raining and frankly, it's cold. If you've ever had back pain and it rains on your parade, stay tuned. We're going to talk about the habits that contribute to back pain so you can avoid them, and 5 steps, the deep dive into how to relieving back pain or avoiding the intensity or the frequency of back pain in your life. And then we'll finish with a quick soup that you can eat to decrease the inflammation that contributes to back pain. Today, I've got your back. Before we dive into habits or back care, this needs to be said. So depending on what kind of back pain you've got, how long you've had it, you need to do a couple of things. Check with your physician, make sure you have the right guidelines and limitations, and you know what their recommendations are for you. And the best place to begin exercise is 2 weeks pain-free, then start. So if you're in chronic pain or you have acute pain from an injury, wait until that pain subsides before you begin. Otherwise, if you're in chronic pain, you have been for a long time, you may know that day of pain-free may never come. Make sure you're getting a physician's recommendation before you start and listen to your body. If anything causes pain to become greater, stop and back off. That's a message you need to listen to. Now let's talk about habits. All right, so let's talk about some of those habits that you do on a daily basis that contribute to either your avoiding back pain or promoting it. If you're sitting at a desk a lot at work or standing in the same position at work, either one of those can be detrimental to your lower back depending on your posture. I'm not gonna go into ergonomics or your desk setup, but what I want you to do is talk to your human resources people if you haven't, or Google ergonomics so you can get a good desk setup and realize how you need to be sitting and simple things you can do to make all the hours you spend in front of a desk much more comfortable. For Muscles in Minutes today, this is your step-by-step process for healing from back pain or preventing it. And just to get you motivated, if you're not struggling with back pain right now, it is also the very same thing that will give you a flat belly or a longer drive down the fairway if you happen to play. We're gonna start, number 1, with mobility. We have to make sure you can move throughout range of motion before we ever start adding resistance and loading you up so you get stronger. Then once we've got that mobility, we're gonna start stretching you so you've got full range of motion and use of that mobility. That's where we start adding stabilization. Now you might recognize that word from planks, but you're not quite even ready for that yet. Where we start adding that is when we start adding load in strength. And then finally, you start doing functional movements. Some of the big things, the wow types of exercises that you see people doing in the gym, but you're not ready for that yet. And you're really not ready for strength yet. So let's go back to the beginning and really talk about mobility. Attention, let's talk about how you stand. So some people will take this for granted, and you'll even do this in the gym when you're exercising. But if you stand for a long period of time, a lot of us will end up doing this with our knees, and we end up hyperextending. And what happens when you do that is pressure goes right here to the small of your back. So what you need to do is not flex, but you need to come out of that locked position. And it actually makes you a little taller. So if you're 5'4" or less, you know what I mean by standing up as tall as you possibly can. What you want to do is just get to that point where you're taking the pressure off of your lower back, and you're gonna develop some more awareness that your abdominals have to go on. In fact, they do. So I want you to stand up with me if you're not already, and I want you to find the fronts of your hips. So there's a little corner right here, and I want you to find that knob. It's in there, and then find the bottom of your rib cage. And put a finger and a thumb on either of them. And what you're trying to do is just get a snapshot. How much space is between that? And if you were to take that around the bucket of your pelvis and find that space again in the back and the bottom of the ribs behind you, that space should be exactly the same here and here. But some of us get a little tipped, the John Wayne posture, I call that. Or we get a little tipped in the opposite direction with a more lordosis, bigger curve in the small of your back, what I call duck butt, where you have shortened space between the ribs and the hips here. What you want to find is where's your neutral. This is your happy place for your lower back. So if you want to avoid lower back pain, you want to get used to keeping those knees relaxed and keeping your hips just slightly into a neutral position right here. Now let's take a look at the skeleton, joint by joint from bottom to top, and what should be happening. Look, it's your skeleton. Here's what should be happening with your skeleton. When you start with the feet, your feet should really be quite stable. Now, if you have flat feet, you have more of a problem with that than someone else. Your ankles should be mobile, and that can be a problem if you're 50 or older because that's an age-related issue. We've spent our whole life upright, weight-bearing on those ankles. So practice rotating your ankles in circles, spelling your name, or going through the alphabet with your ankle, or pointing, flexing, turning in, turning out on a daily basis under your desk. Nobody has to know, but that may help prevent other problems working up your kinetic or your joint chain. Your knees should be stable. Do you see the pattern here? Your hips should be mobile. Your lower back should be stable. Your upper back should be mobile. Your shoulders should be mobile, but what I left out is your scapula should be stable. And that can be a challenge because they're not attached to any bony structure. So you've got to work on that one. The two areas we're going to focus on today are your hips. If you sit a lot or you exercise a lot, or both, our hips can get tight. And that results in not just hip issues, but a lot of times that's the reason or cause for lower back pain. The same is true of your upper back. We're going to work on upper back mobility because if you're tight there, you're going to beg, borrow, and steal from that lower back. The first of our mobility exercises is cat-cow back. If you're familiar with yoga, it comes right from that series. So you're going to start and round your back up as much as you can. So the goal is to get the arch of your back to be both in the upper back and in the lower back, as opposed to one or the other. And then you come back in the opposite direction, and you want to allow that lower back to sink and cave down, tailbone up, sternum up, but not leading with the head and neck. So let the neck follow the upper back. Take a breath in, and then exhale. Breathe out. Inhale, come back in the opposite direction. Exhale down. Inhale. And go to the opposite extreme. Exhale. Tailbone down, push with the hands. Inhale. And you'd continue. Let's go on to the next exercise. This exercise is a bridge. We're going to articulate again from the floor up and from up to a down position. Lie down on your back. Place your hands out to the side for a base of support, and then I want you to start tipping your tailbone up. Articulate up through your spine one vertebra at a time as best you can so that your knees, hips, and shoulders are in a straight line, and then articulate down in the reverse action. Try to hit that lower back, and you may find there's a spot that you can't articulate as well. Keep trying. Hollow that back out at the bottom, and then press the lower back into the floor as you start up again. Just articulation. Rolling down upper, middle, lower back, tailbone comes last. And then start again. Reverse, roll and lift. We'll do one more together. Tip that tailbone upward, roll all the way up to the top, and then lower down. And now for thread the needle. Start on all fours, and we're gonna have you turn your left fingertips in slightly, and then thread the needle with your right arm all the way down. So my head, my shoulder is resting on the floor, no strain on the neck. You're gonna move this hand right out in front of your wrist. I want you to take a deep breath in, and on an exhale, push that hand into the floor, almost as if you were doing a push-up pose. If you need a stretch, you're gonna feel it right down here. If you don't need the stretch, you're not feeling it, don't worry, things are happening in that lower back that you want to happen. Release the tension, take another deep breath, exhale, and push and hold. That's all there is to it. And then release. You're gonna move that hand back in to come up, and we're gonna go transitioning right to the other side. Take a deep breath in, exhale, and press that right hand into the floor. Here's where you'll feel a stretch across the small of your back. Inhale, release the tension, and then exhale, push that right hand into the floor again. Try to keep both knees equally balanced and stable on the floor. Exhale and release, and come up. And the last exercise is rotation. So you're gonna bring one foot forward and the same arm inside. You can then just drop and switch, and this arm comes up toward the ceiling. And you can switch arms. And then you'll want to switch legs. Now, coming down to the floor is not comfortable. You can also be upright and rotate the arms this way. Rotating to the opposite side. And the last option, if being on the floor and kneeling on this leg is not comfortable, you could be standing upright with your foot up on a bench, doing the rotation through the spine this way without ever having to do that on your knees. The other leg looks like this. Hand inside. And switch, and when you're putting the weight on the same arm and leg, you're gonna bobble a little bit, and that's okay. And that's rotation. So next up is my super secret special for how I stay injury-free. These are my 8 minutes of stretching I do religiously. So many of you have told me, I wish I could start yoga, or I know I should try it. Well, here's your swap. If you can't, find time for a yoga class or find yoga that you can do to a DVD. Do this 8-minute series daily, and I promise you, your hips and your lower back are gonna feel awesome. Here's the first one. If any of them need to be thrown out because you can't do them, this might be one of them, and that's okay. Do the ones you can do right now and keep coming back and try the others. This is a standing lunge. You're gonna be a lot lower than you typically would be and really not much up and down. I want you to take that back knee, tip it to the floor, and then come back straight. If you imagine there's an apple right on the back of your knee, you're gonna pop it off. So you're really pressing with some push behind you, tipping your tailbone down. The stretch should be right here, and I shouldn't have to tell you that if you're doing this with me. You got this? Other leg. Here we go. Back toes touch, curl under, push you up, and then down low, tap the knee, press that leg behind you, but push your tailbone forward. That's a hip flexor stretch right here. Press back, stay low and deep, and then push just 3 times, both legs. That's it. Here's the next one. This is called the number 4 stretch. I want you to lie on your back, feet about hip width apart. You're gonna bring one ankle up and over the outside of the knee. So it's important that you're not actually on the ankle or the foot putting pressure on the ankle. So the details matter. So what I want you to do is just be in this position. Here, push that knee away from you, not with your hands, but activate the muscles. You're already gonna feel a stretch. And if you feel a significant one, this is your spot. Right now, it's as much as you need to do. Next step, you're gonna thread your hands underneath this leg and hold on here. A little deeper stretch. And if you find you're really flexible, you may reach across, hang on top of the knee on the shin, or eventually come up and kind of just fork that lower leg. You're gonna end up holding this stretch for about a minute when you do this on your own. Keep your shoulder blades and your head relaxed. You may need a pillow underneath your head to keep your neck comfortable. So if you feel you're in this position, make sure you elevate the head just a little bit. As you hold on, the stretch subsides, gets easier, and you're not feeling it quite so much. That's your signal to draw in just a little bit more, breathe out, and relax into it. So you continue to hold the stretch at a place where there's comfortable tension and you know something good is going on. So once you've held that leg, you're gonna let that one come down, and you repeat the process on the other side. The ankle all the way outside the knee. Reach through if you need to go further than this, holding on either to the leg or to the shin, and then push that knee away. Now, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Can you tell? I'm tighter on this side. This knee is a lot closer to me than my other one was, and I'm feeling it inside. So that's okay. You're not gonna be symmetrical on both sides, but pay attention to the fact that one of your sides may need this stretch or need to be held in this stretch a little bit longer than the other. So I need to favor this side until I'm a little bit more in balance. I'm gonna bring my hands up, hold on here, and just work out my 30 to 60 second hold in this spot. Continuing to remember to push that knee away from me while I'm holding, and then relax. And that number 4 stretch, you need to do religiously before you go on to the next. Next up, this is the cross-legged stretch. So literally, you're gonna cross your legs, right leg over the left here, then push up, raise your hips up, and you're gonna move your hip to the right side if it's the right leg on top, and then let your legs fall over to the left side. So let them fall, don't put them there, because gravity right now is gonna do all the work for you, and you're just passively gonna let that muscle group here in the hip, possibly here in your back, relax. And that's what it needs to do. So if you go to a stretch where your body thinks, whoa, stop a minute, it first grabs. And until you just relax and breathe through it, it won't let go. So hang out for a little bit, no pushing, just release. And if you're really tight, you may want a couple pillows on the floor next to you to support your legs so they don't have to go so far that your body can't let go. You'd want to hold this for about a minute. Here's something I want to pay attention to. Think about your shoulder blades back on the floor. So this shoulder blade on this side is going to tend to want to pull up. What I want is for it to stay down so that I'm rotating through my spine to get the stretch. When you come up and out, I want you to come up carefully, especially if you've got a big stretch, to the other side. Set yourself back in the middle, then the leg crosses, raise the hip, come over to the left because it's now the left side on top, put your hips down. You just bought yourself a little more range of motion with that movement, and then let your legs come off to the side. Now here's where that imbalance, your asymmetry shows up. So I can feel a greater stretch on this side, and it happens not to be in my hip, but here through my lower back. There's no right or wrong answer. You're gonna feel a stretch where you need the stretch the most. So let yourself release into it, deep breathing right here, and then pay attention to whether or not both of your shoulder blades can stay down. So don't let this one pull up. If you can help it, keep working it back into the floor. So you're rotating from that point, not with it. Hold that for about a minute and then come back up to the top. Coming carefully out of a stretch, especially if you feel a deep stretch. We're gonna go right on to the legs falling to the side stretch. Not much change in position. You're gonna put your feet a little bit wider than hip width apart here though, and you're gonna let both of your legs fall to the side, kind of drop them open. Whatever happens with your hips is just fine. And think about how you're doing right here. If you feel the stretch, stop. This is plenty. If you need a little greater stretch, you're gonna take your bottom leg, put that ankle on top of your knee, and then let down on the knee again. Now you just got a little leverage and a little bit more pull through the stretch. You may feel it through the front of your hip, through the side, or again, through that lower back. And it should be a comfortable stretch, no pain. Arms out to the side, try to keep your shoulder blades down and breathe through it. Just relax. Even if it feels like a gentle stretch, there's a lot going on here that helps you release those muscles around the small of your back. When you're ready to come out, you're gonna carefully take that foot off. Release if you've gone into a deep stretch, carefully, and then come up. Feet wider than hip width apart. This time they fall to the other side. Check in first before you decide, I'm gonna put my ankle up because you did last time. You need to see what this side needs. They'll be different. If you need it, the ankle comes up, drop your knee off to the side, and then relax with deep breaths till you've reached that minute, and then come up and out of it, nice and easily, back to the center. So the key flip of the day is 80% of us may struggle with back pain, but it's preventable, and/or you can decrease the frequency or the intensity of the pain with some simple daily habits. So thanks to all of you who've sent in comments and questions about your own back pain and that process, and let me know how it goes for you. And now I'd like to hear from you. Is back pain your problem, or is it something else? Tell me and send me your question or challenge to flipping50tv.com. And if I use your question for the show, I'm going to send you exclusive access to the After 50 Fitness Formula for Women online course, plus a copy of You Still Got It, Girl, the book. And my friends at Anne Marie Skincare are going to send you a full-size trio of their best skincare products. What are you waiting for? Let's start Flipping 50 together.